America's favorite movie pundit, Roger Ebert, tells us that America missed a golden opportunity to showcase its constitutional freedoms when millions of Americans voiced their opposition to the Ground Zero Mosque. You may remember Roger Ebert. He has written film reviews for the Chicago Sun-Times since 1967, and he was with Gene Siskel on sneak previews. In fact, the two of them had a 23-year run on public television where they each gave thumbs up or thumbs down on various movies. They didn't often agree, which it was to my liking that was the case. And so Roger Ebert today, because of his time, 23 years reviewing movies on television and writing for the Chicago Sun-Times since 1967, gives you some indication on how long he has been around. Now, this is not to say that Roger Ebert is the most insightful or even the most right on film reviews. It's just that most people know him more than anyone else. In actuality, I think that Michael Medved is a much better reviewer of films. He doesn't take himself too seriously. He has a better taste in films. Michael and his brother Harry made Plan 9 from Outer Space a cult classic by dubbing it the worst film of all time and awarding it a Golden Turkey Award with their book, the Golden Turkey Awards Nominees and Winners, the Worst Achievements in Hollywood History. If you haven't seen Plan 9 from Outer Space, it's so bad, it's so good. But the thing that probably puts Michael Medved on a second-tier movie reviewer is that he had the audacity to write Hollywood versus America, Popular Culture and the War on Traditional Values in 1992. No one likes a spoil sport. No one likes a spoil sport that's going to cost Hollywood money in this billion-dollar business, especially when you find that political correctness is all the rage. But back to Roger Ebert. Because of his elevated status as the nation's go-to guy on film reviews, he oftentimes goes outside his parameters of expertise and delves into the realm of political correctness, and he doesn't do a very good job of it. Here's one of his latest. He has postulated, he gives 10 reasons why the Ground Zero Mosque controversy is hurting America and hurting the ideals of America. This is the first one. America missed a golden opportunity to showcase its constitutional freedoms. The instinctive response of Americans should have been the same as President Obama's. Muslims have every right to build there. Where one religion can build a church, so can all religions. And let's for the moment say, I'm not opposed to that. If you want to take the First Amendment in that context, then that's fine. But let's understand something. Just because something is a religion doesn't necessarily mean it falls under the category of the First Amendment. The First Amendment states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. As even Roger Ebert makes clear in a couple of other of his propositions, of the 10 propositions, is there are some things in terms of freedom of speech that can't be said without some sort of ethical or moral violation, even some legal violations. So it's possible to state that just because something is a religion, that it does not have the protective properties of the First Amendment. And I would put modern day Islam in that category. In fact, you could put ancient Islam in that category. Islam is a violent religion. And now, again, I know there are a lot of Muslims out there, good Muslims, peaceful Muslims, who are not violent and wouldn't kill anybody and would not take the basics of Sharia law and want them imposed upon anybody because they've escaped here to the United States because of some of the things related to Islam. But radical Islam is a reality. Radical Islam is involved in a lot of these, in the building of a lot of these mosques. And I believe that this particular mosque is a foothold, an Islamic foothold in the United States, and it has a a much larger agenda involved than simply building a bridge between the West and Islamic cultures. So America's constitutional freedoms were violated when a bunch of radical Islamists decided to subvert those freedoms and fly planes into American buildings and kill thousands of Americans. In his third point, Ebert writes, the Muslims who attacked the World Trade Center are not the Muslims who are building the center. This is true. Those who attacked the World Trade Center with their planes are dead. And the reason they're dead is because they wanted to destroy the heart of American society and culture. Now, if you want to change American society and culture, that's okay to do as well, but you have to do it through the constitutional means of here in the United States. But those who want to build the center, and a majority of so-called moderate Muslims are not demonstrating in the streets by the tens of thousands denouncing the radicals. And this is my point. Where are these moderate, non-radical Muslims? How come they're not demonstrating in the streets every time there's a violent act by some Muslim extremists? Where are they? Where are the protests here in the United States? They should be in the streets by the thousands. And if 90% of Muslims are somehow outside the perimeter of radical Islam, why aren't they protesting worldwide? Why aren't they stopping these radical extremists in their own country? Instead, they are content to have their religious fellow travelers to use our freedoms against us. The long-term goal of Islam is the abolition of our constitutional freedoms, since the majority of them are an affront to the fundamental tenets of Islam. If Islam gains dominance in the United States, one of its stated goals, will there be freedom of religion, speech, assembly, and press? Would Christians be permitted to build churches? Could the minority population of Christians be able to evangelize Muslims? To ask these questions is to answer them. If Islam gains a foothold in the United States and gains a representative, legislative, judicial foothold in the United States, you will see our freedoms dissipated. That's a fact. We've seen it happen in other countries. Someone goes out to preach the gospel, they can be killed. Churches are burned down. Someone converts from Islam to another religion, particularly Christianity, they can be executed. Why would we want that type of religion here in the United States? Why would we subvert our own freedoms by letting them continue to build mosques here in the United States when their goal is to subvert everything we believe about basic American principles? Now, so I think Roger Ebert is naive, as many people are on this particular issue. I believe it's time. We're beginning to see this in Europe right now. We're beginning to see what's happening with Islam in Europe. Muslims are not integrating into the culture. They are creating their own Islamic enclaves. They are setting up their own courts. Some courts are actually saying that the Sharia law is applicable in those particular courts. We even had one judge here in the United States say the same thing. So Roger Ebert, I believe, along with so many others, is naive on this issue. Islam is out to destroy us. If there are radical Islamists, if there are non-radical Islamists out there in the United States, then it's time that they stand up and they denounce radical Islam and change the face of Islam. Mormonism did this when it came to the polygamy issue. They saw the handwriting on the wall. There wasn't some revelation that they got. In 1890, the court had ruled that the polygamous marriages were against everything that Christianity was, and Utah would not be able to come into the Union. The territory could not come into the Union unless they denounced their polygamous marriages. So Islam needs to change. The best way to change is for them to convert to Christianity. Islam is based upon the basic premise of the Bible, both the Old and the New Testament. It needs to get rid of its mythology and embrace Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, and have these mosques converted into churches. This is the biblical message of taking the gospel into all the world and making disciples of all the nations. We should not allow these mosques to be built if Islam is going to continue its radical ways, and if the so-called moderate Muslims will not stand up against the tyranny that is inherent in Islamic philosophy and theology.
For more related to this topic, check out How to Argue with a Liberal and Win, edited by Joel McDermott. You will find it at AmericanVision.com.